If your teenage child has been diagnosed with functional neurological disorder, short for FND, such as PNES, NES, functional paralysis, functional fainting, POTS, functional movement disorder, functional vision loss, then I wonder if you have heard from your doctors what causes this FND for your child. April is the FND Awareness Month. So in this video, I want to talk about what FND is and what are some of the influencing factors to concoct this FND. As a pediatric psychologist and chronic pain survivor myself, my mission is to help teens and their parents like you to resolve persistent physical symptoms such as chronic pain and FND so that they reclaim their lives and health from the inside and out. And I truly believe these teens and the parents deserve so much more in their lives. And if you're new to this channel, make sure to grab a free PDF parenting guide to help your teens at home who struggle with chronic pain or FND. Just click the link below in the description box and grab it today. So let's talk about what FND is. FND itself is an umbrella term to describe this cross-wiring situation and condition between your brain and the body. So put it another way, physically you look fine, quote unquote, meaning that your test results or scan and everything looks great, but your body is having these neurological symptoms. And a lot of people think that it is a pure biological phenomenon or pure psychological phenomenon. I don't know if your doctor ever mentioned it's all in your head or it's all psychological or it's all stress or it's all anxiety. Well, they're kind of missing the boat because it's not just that simple one thing that creates FND. It's a lot more complicated than that. And in fact, FND is a biopsychosocial phenomenon. So biological component has anything to do with medical conditions like injury, illness, IQ, genetics, temperament, lifestyle, eating, sleeping, all of that stuff go into this medical component. And then there's a psychological component. It could include anxiety, depression, trauma, but more importantly, the way your child copes with difficult situations. So coping strategies, self-esteem, the way they think, the way they feel, and the way they express their feelings and stuff like that. And the social component includes anything around them. So it could be school, family, friends, extracurricular activities, cultural expectations, the pandemic, what's happening around them, right? In fact, FND is on the rise since the pandemic, and it has a lot of this social component triggering these symptoms. And none of these things can be separated because biological, psychological, social component, they all go together. And after all, your child's body and the mind are in one place. So we can't just say FND is one thing, like a pure biological or pure psychological issue. They're all combined. Okay, so that's really what this biopsychosocial component of FND is. Now, I want to talk about 10 potential influencing factors that lead to or trigger or perpetuate your child's FND symptoms. Okay, so number one thing is literally the medical condition. So it could be based on your child's illness, injury, or any other medical conditions that may or may not be directly related to FND, but that could be the part of it, right? That triggered FND condition. Second one is somewhat of an interesting data, but it actually has something to do with FND. That is your child's learning concerns. Did you even know that upwards of 60% of the children who have FND have some sort of learning concerns, whether it was diagnosed or undiagnosed? So it could be ADHD or it could be learning disabilities like a dyslexia or speech concerns and things like that. But those are the concerns that can tie into the FND. Okay. And number 3 is the psychiatric concerns. So this could be your child's anxiety or depression at baseline, or it could be any trauma, or it could look like a benign experience, but it could be a traumatic experience for your child. Right. So for example, moving or transition to high school or losing friends and things like that can be part of the psychiatric concerns. Okay. Number 4 is a poor communication skills. I'm not saying that your child doesn't know how to talk, but this is more about, can your child experience what's happening around them, and then process that experience and articulate in a way that they or other people would understand. Okay, so this is more about identifying how they're feeling and identifying what they're thinking and what their anticipations are at any given time. And then can they actually verbalize and articulate those needs, that kind of thing, right? So number 5, this is also really common, which is high achieving, high expectations from child, him or herself, or people around the child. So it could be parents or other family members or culturally or where they are at. So like her peers and stuff like that. So this is where your child can be a highly intelligent and a super bright straight A student who is high strung and very stressful. That could be a part of the triggering factor for FND. Now, speaking of peers, peer conflict can be a source of the problem. So this could be a bullying or getting sucked into peer drama and things like that. Okay. The rest of the 4 things can have something to do with the family. So number 1 thing, again, this is number 7, but one of the family component is the marital discord. So when I say marital, it could be partner, significant others, but basically the parents or guardian themselves have some sort of dysfunction, and that could have a ripple effect on how your child is expressing as an FND. Okay. The next thing is a family dysfunction. This is a relationship between your child and then you as a parent, or parents themselves, or the whole dynamic. If there are any siblings or any other family members living with this child or around them, right? So any of these family dysfunction can trigger the FND symptoms. Number 9, parents' reactions. So when I say this parents' reaction, it really means how you as a parent are reacting to your child's FND symptoms. Could it be with extensive worry, or could it be with somewhat of a frustration, or that you're actually reacting differently only when your child is having FND symptoms, or your reaction have changed since your child started having these FND symptoms? So those are all parents' reactions. And study actually says that if you're over worrying, aka catastrophizing your child's FND symptoms, then your child tends to perpetuate and exacerbate the FND symptoms. So again, this may not be the actual reason why your child is having FND symptoms, but this could be one of the biggies for why your child continues to have FND symptoms. Okay. The last one, number 10, is unintentional secondary gain. So when I say unintentional secondary gain, it's not the same thing as that your child is doing it on purpose, like your child is faking it to get attention. No, it really means that your child is exhibiting these symptoms, and then whenever they're having these symptoms, other people are actually nice to your child, or your child actually can get away with things like not doing house chores or not going to school or coming home from school early and things like that. And again, your child is not really doing it intentionally to manipulate other people, but it's almost like that your child's brain got trained to engage in these symptoms or to demonstrate these symptoms so that other people are sort of reinforcing this behavior. Just to recap it, 10 factors that influence FND are medical conditions, learning concerns, psychiatric concerns, poor communication skills, high achieving trait, peer conflict, marital discord, family dysfunction, parents' reactions, and unintentional secondary gain. You let me know in the comments below how many of these 10 factors actually check off for you in particular and then for your child in particular, because these are commonly listed factors that are part of the FND. One more thing I wanted to tell you is that if you are talking to adults who have FND, so I'm talking about ages 18 and up, and then adult population who have FND, chances are over 90% of these people who have FND have some sort of trauma, like child abuse or domestic violence or things like that, or any of these traumatic events that they have experienced in the past, and then that is leading to this adulthood FND. However, for teens FND, amongst adolescents, not really the case. So it's not really the same. In fact, the trauma is related with teen FND less than 50% of the time. So if your doctor has assumed that your child must have had this trauma that you as a parent are not aware of, may or may not be the case. I'm just saying the adult FND is not the same thing as a teen FND. So that is something to kind of keep that in mind. So if you're, wondering what your child has not shared with you, or you have not noticed anything leading up to this point, I would say don't give yourself a hard time, because that may or may not be the case for your child. Okay? So what can you do about this? Number one, I would highly recommend that your child has a correct diagnosis, which is FND. FND is no longer a rule out situation, meaning that the doctors have exhausted all of the other diagnoses and then what's left is FND. That is not the case anymore. FND should be considered in the beginning if that is the case. Okay, so it's more of a ruled in situation rather than rule out situation. Number two, you and your child absolutely need to know what FND is and sort of accept that this is a diagnosis that you're working on. Because if one of you or both of you are refusing to accept this diagnosis and chase after this quote unquote hidden diagnosis, hence you're going into this rabbit hole of seeing so many different doctors and going through so many different tests and evaluations and all of that stuff. Number one, you are likely to delay the treatment for your child to get better. And number two, that you are more likely to feel confused and frustrated because nobody is giving you the definitive answer that you're looking for. Okay? The study shows that sooner your child starts a treatment, the faster and the better outcome your child will be having. So in my mind, why wait? Finally, this would be ideal, but if you can find an FND specialist, that would be great. The problem is there are not that many of us around there. And so do your best to find a resource who can work with you on FND treatment. And I am happy to, again, share the parenting guide on what you can do to help your child at home. Click the link below and then grab the free PDF today. That is at least what you can do to start today. In the end, FND is a legit condition, and then your child is not faking. And then FND is much more than just biological or psychological phenomenon. And it's definitely not all in your head, okay? And FND can be debilitating if you don't do anything, but it can be a solvable situation as long as you apply the right approach. If you and your team are ready to commit to resolve FND through step-by-step actionable solutions, then you may be a good fit for my program. Schedule a call to talk to me directly and then see if you're a good fit for my program. The link is down below, and just click it and then schedule a call with me. Well, thank you so much, and see you in the next video.